So he's perfect. For me, he's perfect, and can't do much wrong. So.
Was he out with an injury or for a whole year?
It was kind of off and on. It was hard to diagnose, so we were really trying to be strategic about having him for the finals that we really wanted him for this year. So we kind of gave up having him at USCT finals, which he also would specialize in, because I felt that Elizabeth could do those finals up until being 21 years old. And so we just made kind of a joint decision on which classes we want to have him right for, and tried to really tie ourselves down to make sure that we didn't try to use him in places where we shouldn't, you know, to make sure that we had him for when we needed him, because you can count on him. He doesn't ever make a mistake typically. It's not a surprise to me that Hasbrook got such good scores on him, because the horse doesn't really make mistakes, and if I was going to get a horse to get switched on to, he's probably one of my picks also.
And are you going to keep him?
Yeah, forever.
Can he do something besides equitation, or?
Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to, but...
She actually met his previous rider. He was doing young riders and jumper competitions before he became an equitation horse, and the rider came up and introduced herself to us at Lake Placid. So that was kind of fun to get to meet the background of him.
You might become a jumper.
No.
She said his belly was too big to jump those big jumps.
Talk about your work-off round of Patrick and what it was like warming him up and how you felt going in the ring with him.
He was definitely comfortable from the start. I wasn't as nervous as I was last year. I was coming in the same spot, second in the hunter phase and then won the jumper phase, but again left the door open a little bit too much last year and made a silly mistake. But going in on him, he was more of my ride, I think, and was easy for me to open up and get down the first line and get down the tricky parts of the course. So I liked him a lot.
Talk a little bit about what were the parts that were a little bit harder in this course, what made this course a challenge?
I definitely thought going down the first line, although it wasn't really open, I thought you definitely wanted to, you know, set the tone and don't be too weak. Although it was a straight line, you know, you don't want to go in there and chip the first fence. The Liverpool's down the bending line in the 7 was hard for me on my horse because, you know, I just kind of like get rolling and then maybe get there a little bit too past it. So on Patrick, Stacia said before I went in to not make the same mistake, and I think I fixed that a little bit better.
And Hasbrook, what did you feel were the more challenging spots in the course for you on your horse?
The bending 5 to the animal plan, just to make sure your horse is with you, and I guess also the bending to the 7 that you didn't get there really.
Hasbrook, talk about the horse that you swapped onto a little bit and how that ride went.
Well, Elizabeth told me that, you know, he's really fun and that you just have to kind of steer him around, and he was awesome.
In school, are you focusing on horses now? What are you doing?
Well, Hasbrook and I both signed to Auburn University. She's waiting until next semester to come, but I started in August. So I'm flying back and forth for each of the finals. I can't even put it into words, I don't think. I was thrilled and excited, and I wouldn't imagine that I'd be in this spot, that's for sure.
What about the McClay going forward? I mean, does this give you a boost for the McClay, or now people look at you as, you know, you're the favorite, puts more pressure? How does that work?
I'm sure that there's maybe a little bit of pressure, but knock on wood, I like to think that I don't let that affect me as much. Knock on wood. I'm really superstitious. So in that sense, there's probably a lot going forward, but hopefully it'll turn out just as well.
What about you, Hasbrook, going to McClay? What do you think this has done for you or didn't do for you?
Well, I don't really think there's much pressure, just to try go in and just be smooth and ride the best that I can.
Don't you think, though, Nancy, at this level, you know, how much more pressure could there possibly be? I think both these two girls, you know, at this point in time, you know, they're consistent, they ride so well. I mean, I don't think there's going to be as much as, I don't think that's a problem at this point, maybe if it were the Olympics, but these girls have been so competitive for so many years. You know, they've got obviously ice water in their veins when it comes to getting to that second and third round. You know, over and over and over, you see these two just, it doesn't matter what horse, what venue, what showgrounds. Hasbrook may be a little bit slow, you know, have a time fault or two or something, but basically they're always in range at the fences. So you get to pick more on their style and maybe the smoothness or the shape of the horse when you got to the jump. You know, and as much as we would have loved to win the class, I'm not, you know, kidding about that part, but everybody likes Elizabeth, so it's really hard to be too mad. You know, she's one of these kids, and Hasbrook too. You know, these two girls, you know, they are not in members of what we call the Mean Girls Club. They're not in that, and everybody seems to be very happy when either one of these two win the classes. You know, they're very cordial, they're very gracious. They both had to work very hard for it. This is not. They're not handed the best horses. You know, Hasbrook's horse never did an equitation class till March probably, and that sounds about. We got in the middle of the Florida circuit, and he was voted best horse at the USAT. And of course, she's had her horse for 3 years. She knows it like the back of her hand, and it was I told Hasbrook, I said, that's a perfect match for you, and of course it was.
It's kind of neat, isn't it, Stacia, that, well, maybe not for you, but for the rest of us watching, that different people won each of the classes this year as opposed to one person.
Yeah, I think that's really nice because you've got so many top riders right now. It really comes down to the day and whose day it is, because there's probably, if you looked on paper, I'd have to say there's probably at least 15 kids that could easily win all of these finals on a given day. So a lot comes down to the course and just having the variables line up for you. And it's a lot to manage this time of year to make sure the horses stay together, make sure the kids are healthy, make sure that Sandy's not stopping you from getting to the next finals. But I think these two girls attending school is, and also maintaining such a high standard of riding is such an amazing example for the kids that are in the sport, because you want to think that, you know, hard work is going to get you the whole way, and it gets you most of the way, but education is really important, and I think these two girls attending school and making that a precedence is really good for the young kids coming up.
So, talk a little bit about that. How would that make that more difficult for you guys to prepare since you are at school? I mean, you've been there for a month and a half or something.
I've been there, and it's really great with the program there. We ride 5 times a week, which is good. Whether, you know, it's just hacking or us jumping around, they've definitely helped with, you know, keeping me fit and making sure my eye's still working after such a break. But it's not easy, but it definitely helps to be at a school where they allow you to ride all the time.